So this is an article presentation on With Boys and Girls in Mind by Michael Gurian and Kathy Stevens. So summary. In this article by Michael Gurian and Kathy Stevens, it discusses the topic of boys and girls and the difference in teaching needed to better their education. It touches on many different subjects, for example, the difference in minds of boys compared to girls, feelings of boys versus girls, technology between boys and girls, the task now to come, how to approach issues between girls and boys, who's at fault, and the classroom. It's a great look upon the different needs from both boys and girls. Key points we'll be discussing. So the first one is the minds of girls, then the minds of boys, boys and feelings, teaching boys, teaching girls, girls and computers, the task ahead, the nature-based approach, the nature-based classroom, and who's failing. The minds of girls. Girls' and boys' brains are not the same. They have different characteristics. Several different characteristics are: girls have a larger corpus callosum. By the time girls hit puberty, a girl's corpus callosum is on average 25% larger than a boy's. This makes it so that between a girl's two hemispheres in the brain, there's a lot more crosstalk. Girls have more sensory detailed memory storage and are more detailed in writing assignments because they have a stronger neural connection in their temporal lobes. In a girl's brain, the hippocampus is larger than the boys, making them have a learning advantage because this is another part of the brain that stores memories. Girls' prefrontal cortex is generally more active, so girls make fewer impulsive decisions. Girls usually use cortical parts of their brain for emotive and verbal functioning, where boys use it for spatial and mechanical functioning. Girls have many advantages in the brain, but that doesn't mean boys are at complete disadvantage. It just means that boys and girls learn better in different ways, and may be better at different subjects or even different tasks. The minds of boys. Boys' brains have a different characteristics than girls. For example, boys use half the space that girls use for verbal emotive functioning. They want to be moving or moving something through something else. Boys have less serotonin and oxytocin, which makes them more physically impulsive and less likely to just sit and talk with their friends like girls would. Boys have less blood flow. Girls have more blood flow in the brain and are also structured and compartmentalized, making it so that they cannot multitask as well as most girls. Boys have a rest state, so they are more likely to zone out. This is why boys learn higher in upper classes like math or physics. It is also why boys like things like video games better and get in trouble for more impulsiveness out of boredom. This is a girl's brain, and this is a boy's brain listening to a story. So you can see that it lights up different parts of their brain. Boys and feelings. Boys express their feelings differently than girls do. And knowing this, is it right to handle the situation the same way? No. Some tactics that may work for girls may not work well with boys because boys express feelings differently than girls and need to be talked to differently than girls. An assistant principal from Tampa, Florida expresses this. She tells about a little boy and how he would blow up and run out of class and out of the school, and she would go chasing after him, but couldn't ever seem to get him to cooperate. She then attended a male-female brain training, and when she came back she decided to approach the matter differently. The next time the little boy ran out, she took a ball with her and asked him to bounce it back and forth with her. Before long, he was talking, then sharing anger and frustration that he was experiencing at school and at home, she stated. Before long, He was doing much better at controlling his anger, and would just ask the teacher to excuse himself whenever he was getting angry, and he would go down to the assistant principal's office and repeat their ball therapy, or ball routine. Girls and boys are not the same, and do not have the exact same functioning brains. They have their differences, so certain situations may need to be handled differently depending on if it's a boy or a girl. Teaching boys and teaching girls in an elementary setting, boys and girls learn differently. So what may work for one child may not work for another. But it also applies for gender. What may work well when teaching a girl may not work well for teaching a boy, and what may work well for teaching a boy may not work well for teaching a girl. Teaching elementary school girls. When girls start school, they are behind boys in their gross motor skills. So play physical games to promote improvement in this area. Take pictures of girls succeeding at tasks, so always have a portable or digital camera around. To promote science, have sand tables and water tables around the room. To help their perceptual learning, have a lot of puzzles around the room. Have them work in teams or groups so they can improve their leadership and negotiation skills. Use manipulatives to teach math. Verbally encourage the hidden high energy of the quieter girls. Teaching elementary school boys. Boys need manipulative activities in school to help their fine motor development because when boys start school, they are behind girls in this area. Place books all around the classroom so the boys can get used to the setting. Boys like and will get more involved in experiential and kinesthetic activities. When you are giving verbal instructions, make sure it's no longer than 1 minute. Personalize each student's area, such as desks, cubbies, coat racks, so that they have more of an attachment to the environment. Use fathers, grandfathers, or other male figures as role models or mentors for the boys. Let the boys comfort or nurture each other through aggression and direct empathy. Girls and computers. Teaching girls how to better understand and work with computers can actually help them in school. Studies have been done to show that when you teach at-risk students that are close to failing or failure how to use the computer to their own benefit, you'll find that they are more focused and not such an at risk of a failure. So the task ahead. Educators now have so much more to give because of their knowledge. We now have things like the MRI and the PET to study the differences between a girl's and a boy's brain. And we have actual data showing us that boys and girls do learn differently. So knowing this, educators need to take action in their classrooms. Use different tactics to help better the understanding for both boys and girls. Not only do we need to do this, but we need to help each child learn within their own mind so they can get most out of their schooling experience. Nature-based approach. Many educators and scientists started wondering if girls and boys do in fact learn differently. So in 1998 to 2000, they put the question to the test. They separated boys and girls into different classes when they studied reading and writing and math. They found after 2 years that it actually did work and that the students' test results had improved by a lot. The nature-based classroom. Classrooms, to become more nature-based, must have different surroundings or different setups in order for the student to learn the most that they possibly can. Boys need their own space to spread out and work, so a table that is unorganized without their own space to spread out probably isn't the best learning environment for a boy. In the classroom for girls, though, there needs to be a lot of manipulative objects. It needs to be set up in groups so that they can improve their math and science skills through discussion and building. There are different things needed for both boys and girls, but you can still have a classroom with both genders, and they can still learn the most possible as long as you know how to work with their different needs. Nobody who's failing? Nobody is truly failing. Through many studies, statistics show that more boys are high school dropouts, are diagnosed with learning disabilities, and are and more boys receive lower grades and more disciplinary referrals. But with technology now, we have come to learn the different ways to teach boys and girls, which has helped the learning in different subjects so much. There is now almost no gap between girls and boys in science and math areas due to our knowledge of how the girls' and boys' brains work differently. Conclusion. Educators and scientists have come to the conclusion that boys and girls learn differently, but we don't have to let that hold anybody back. We just need to take different approaches when teaching boys versus girls, because they are not the same, but we can make it so that everybody is learning to their full potential.